want to try again on your own. I'm going to do it a little bit different tonight. And my reasoning for doing it different is making gluten, and I want you to see what it does when I put it in the broth to cook. And that usually takes a little bit. So instead of doing my health part first and the demonstration second, we're going to start with the demonstration, do the health part, and then peek in the pot along the way. Do you know what I need? Is a big spoon. Yeah, that I can use on here. That's what I forgot to set out here. Everything else is measured, so I think maybe. Oh, I need the 4-cup measuring cup too.
The who cup?
4-cup measuring cup with 3 cups of water in it.
This is getting more complicated all the time.
I knew I was forgetting something and then it just dawned on me. Okay, so gluten. Gluten is the stuff that holds your bread together. And the old-fashioned way of making gluten for gluten steaks, my Montana mom used to do, is you would take flour, you would make a dough out of it, then you put it in, thank you, you would put it in a pan of water and let it sit for a while, and then you would take it underneath running water and you would work it until you got all the starch out, and then all you had left was the gluten. And she would make these little pieces of gluten that looked kind of like what Ella made, only I know that she used vital gluten flour for hers. So this is how we had done a cooking class back in Boulder, Montana, and Sally had showed how to make gluten. And I was at a health food store and I saw gluten flour, and I thought, oh, that must be flour that's got a lot of gluten in it. It's nothing but gluten. So I brought it home. Thank you, dear. And put it in my mixer. I thought, no, I'm not going to do it by hand. I'm going to do it in my mixer. So I put the gluten flour in, I put the water in, and I was going to make my ball of dough. I turned on my mixer and I had instant rubber bands. And it was some chewy gluten, let me tell you. So, needless to say, that was my first bad experience with gluten. And I went to her and said, what did I do wrong? And she said, well, that's already got the starch washed out of it. It's just gluten. And I went, oh. So in your packets, you'll see on the inside, one side is all recipes, one side is all health information. And so all the recipes that you've tasted tonight are in there, plus all the ones that I thought looked really yummy that I didn't get to. And we really didn't need any more, because we filled up 2 tables as it was. But,
And there's still plenty of food left.
and there's still plenty of food left. Guess what we're having for potluck on Saturday? That's the one thing that's nice about cooking class, is it always is the Thursday before our potluck at church, and that means I don't have to cook for potluck because I already have. So I don't have to think about it tomorrow. So what I want to show you tonight is how I made just a basic gluten recipe. A friend of mine came up with this recipe on her own. She made it, she actually put yeast in it. She liked hers to get really fluffy, like almost like dumplings. And I wanted my gluten to be something that had some chew to it to use in place of meat in recipes. And so I took the yeast out of her recipe and I use everything else that her recipe does. So the first part of it is 3 cups of gluten flour. Gluten flour, you really don't want it to dump all over everything at home because it sticks to everything. Just think of ground up rubber bands, what they would be like. So you start with your 3 cups of gluten flour. To keep it from being rubber bands, you add 1 cup of regular white flour, not 1, excuse me, 1/2 cup regular flour. Oops,
Not the plastic
not
container.
the plastic. Don't want to eat that. And a quarter cup of whole wheat flour. A tablespoon of garlic powder, or garlic granules, not powder. Gosh. I told my husband I understand why the crystal bowl that I have belonged to my grandmother has been glued together several times because I drop everything anymore. A tablespoon of onion powder. And 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, which back in the day we used to call brewer's yeast, but that's politically incorrect now, I guess, for some reason.
Unless you're a brewer.
Unless you're a brewer, I
Yeah, because
guess.
the brewers use it to make beer.
But that's what goes into it and gives it the flavor. I'm going to actually take this off of here for a second. No. Never mind. And I usually mix it together just because it gives you a more even consistency, although sometimes I like it when I don't, because you'll get like little streaks that are chewier than other spots, which are actually more like what meat is like. But you can also do that by adding a little extra gluten flour at the end. And then you use 2 tablespoons of Bragg's or soy sauce. And it's really weird. I usually use the Bragg's in this. Let's say 2 tablespoons. This is not a tablespoon, just in case you were wondering. But I know about how much a tablespoon is, so, and I tend to be a bit of a dumb cook, so.
Recipes are usually better if you just do a little lumping rather than measuring precisely anyway.
In my world, anyway, you pour that in there.
Now you did it.
Nice.
You broke it.
I did great. And then you let it do its thing. It's going to gradually pull it together. You'll know when it's ready because it will get into a tight little mass and will take all the stuff off the edges of your roll. And once it gets past the, I'm going to fly flour everywhere, you just let it knead. The thing about gluten flour is the more you knead it, the more elastic it becomes. So if you only do it until everything's wet, it's just going to be kind of, but if you let it go a little while, it's going to get better and better. But that's all that goes actually into where the flavor comes from is from the broth. And I decided the last time I did this, my little 2-burner took forever to get the broth boiling. And so I finally gave up. And this time I got a little smarter. I made the broth ahead. So I'll tell you what I did to make the broth, okay? So the broth has chopped onion and celery, sauteed them. And I know all of you know enough about cooking to know what saute means. You put a little oil in the pan and you cook it till the onion starts to get soft. Then you put in 12 cups of water. This I do use the soy sauce in. I use a half cup of soy sauce. You can also use coconut, you can use liquid aminos, which is also soy, or if you have a problem with soy, they make coconut aminos, which basically is like a soy sauce as far as flavor, but it's good for people who can't handle the soy. But thinking about it, still picking up. Usually I use 5 tablespoons. I used to use 5 tablespoons of McKay's seasoning, but it's one of those things that has disappeared, and you even on Amazon, you can't find it. When you can, we want like 32 bucks for a jar, and it's like, no, I don't think so. So you can see it starting to make a lump in there, and it hasn't quite got it all off the edges yet, so I'm going to let it go a little bit longer. So in your packet is a recipe for making a chicken style seasoning mix, which you can use, and that's what I used in the gluten that you ate tonight, with some of the homemade stuff to replace the potatoes. The stuff that I'm making tonight, though, I decided to play some more. This batch I used, how many of you know better than bouillon? This stuff is amazing. This one is, they're better than bouillon, no chicken base. And it says down there, made with seasoned vegetables, does not contain chicken. They do have a chicken one and a beef one, and I was amazed that on Amazon they had like 12 different kinds of it, kinds I've never even heard of before. Better than bouillon. I use the vegetarian one a lot. In fact, I put a tablespoon in the broth for the one. I just wanted a little bit more flavor than what I thought the other did. But this one I decided to try the no chicken. And then I put 1 tablespoon of the vegetable in too, because I just love the flavor of the vegetable one. Outstanding.
Lorraine,
Yes.
is the no chicken supposed to have a chicken flavor? Is that?
Yes. There's a no chicken, and there is a, well, that's the vegetable. There is a no beef base.
Yeah, that's
So
the
when
one
you
I
want,
wanted.
do you use the no beef? I have not tried, no, I have not tried the no beef one yet.
So when they put that, they're implying, it tastes like this.
It
but
tastes
doesn't
like
have
beef, but it doesn't have any beef in it. It tastes like chicken, but it doesn't have any chicken in it, which is okay. I used to love McKay's. I used it in a lot of things, and it didn't have MSG in it, which made me happy because me and MSG don't get along very well. So, see, I have a lump.
Thank goodness she wasn't looking at me.
I was wondering about that, Marshall.
We don't want to go there right now, dear.
Okay.
Later. Earlier today. The weather was bad. He was having a nice day off. So, oh, I know what the other thing is. I forgot.
What do you
I
need?
brought it out here, but I guess I didn't.
What do you need?
Orange handled knife, the longer bladed one, not the little short one. I started to bring them out here at some point, I know. I thought about it, yeah.
There's a little orange handled knife.
No, I want the other one. That one won't cut this very well, I don't think. So I usually make it into, oh, that's a different one, yeah. Let's see what that one works.
Will that work?
I don't know. It's not the orange handled one I was thinking of.
The only orange I saw in there.
Okay, well, the other one I had out, so I've left it sitting somewhere.
Well, I can go find it.
It looks like the one, the handle looks like the one Marshall was holding in his hand there, but it's got a long blade on it, longer blade on it. The one thing I did discover over the years of making this, first of all, you need to know that it grows when you cook it. Okay, so if I throw a piece in like that size, when it comes out, it's going to be that size. Okay.
Like a steak.
Yeah. And when it's cooking, it'll be even bigger than that. It shrinks back down to this. And that's what I want you to be able to see, and that was why I wanted to be sure the broth was hot. That's gonna be. The other thing that I discovered, you don't want to cut them too fat because they're also going to get a little bit fatter when you cook them. But about that size is a nice size. I've done bigger.
Can everybody see what you did on the,
Well, here, I'll show them. I'm going to cut another one.
I mean, the masses you've made there?
Were you guys able to see what I did here? Okay.
Got people over here too.
But they can see me.
Okay.
They can walk.
They got whatever soy sauce and
Oh, gosh.
whatever in their way there. Now you put it Frank's way.
Remember what we were talking about lumps earlier? You may get some if you keep it up.
I'll have a few lumps. It's on a recording now.
I know.
When I go to the hospital and tell them I'm scared to be at home with you.
All right, enough.
So you're cutting about 1/4 inch?
Yeah, 1/4 inch, not half.
I think he sold it.
Oh, no, that's the one I wanted, that one right there.
I thought it was bigger.
No. It just has a little bit longer blade, and I think that serrated will work nicely. The other thing is, you'll notice that I keep sticking it in the liquid because this is so sticky. Yeah, I guess that's almost a 1/2 inch, isn't it? About like that.
Great.
And it moves when you're cutting it, so sometimes they're a little bit fatter and sometimes they're a little bit skinnier, but it doesn't really matter because it's all gonna taste yummy when it comes down to it. So you cut them up and you put them in here and then you put the lid on and you let them cook. The other thing that I found is once you get it back up to a boil and you turn it down so it's still a little more than a simmer, but for the first little bit, and you'll see why, because it's going to fill up this pan and I'm going to push it back down into the liquid. Then I have found that if I turn it down to low and just go off and leave it there for hours, it just keeps absorbing flavor the longer you cook it. And I'm a notorious taster. Somebody asked why I wasn't eating, and I said that's because I was cooking all day, and when I cook, I eat. For a while there in my life, I actually got good at not doing that because it was really bad because I had eaten a meal by the time I sat down to eat a meal, which is part of the reason I look like this. It is possible to cook without sampling. I'm just not good at it.
I had no idea.
It doesn't sound like fun.
Yes,
Why would you do that?
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Why could
If you can't, I know. I mean, how do you know if it tastes good if you don't sample it? So when I'm cooking gluten, every so often I'll go over and fish a piece out of the pot and go, I think I want to cook a little bit longer. You wouldn't think it would keep absorbing like that because it seems so,
You gotta reach a saturation point.
yeah, you would think it would be a saturation point and it wouldn't keep absorbing, but it does. The other thing that's nice, and I have done it occasionally because I do a lot of gravy, another one of those things that's why I'm the shape I'm in. The broth makes a really nice gravy afterwards. Now, keeping gluten, you can freeze it in this state with a little bit of broth with it, throw it in the freezer, and it'll keep for ages. It doesn't usually around my house because I'll cook it up for a potluck or something and it's gone. Or you can actually fry it up like I did today and freeze it. And then you have something that's all you gotta do is pull out and warm up and it's ready to be used. Either way works.
Have you ever tried putting it in bottles and, like you can fruit?
Actually, I met a lady in Walla Walla one time when I went through teachers' meetings. My daughter and I stayed at her house. Bertha was a neat lady. She canned gluten, but her gluten was soft and fluffy. It was more like my friend's. I don't know what her recipe was. I wasn't into making gluten much then, and
More like dumplings.
I
So I
like the
didn't
soft
have-
and fluffy.
you like it more like a dumpling.
Oh, well, I like what you make. She makes us good.
Well, everybody has their different, and like I said, this is, when I started making this, it was because I wanted something, I could eat vegetarian day in and day out, but every now and then I was hungry for something chewy. And I liked it because it had some chew to it, enough of a similarity to meat that I didn't mind not, because I was never a total vegetarian because Thanksgiving would come and I'd cook a turkey. Turkey just was one of those things I just wasn't willing to get rid of. And my children are happy because they're coming for Thanksgiving dinner this year. And, but other than that, I pretty much stayed eating vegetarian for years. And I have to admit, I was healthier then than I am now. Because that's just me and the carnivore at home now, and I cook for him, and I just got, especially when we were in Alaska, I got back in the habit of eating meat again, and it's so much harder to stop the second. It's easy to stop the first time, but not so much the second time.
Lorraine, could you use a slow cooker for that?
Yeah, I
Because they're
suppose.
adjustable.
Yeah, I would imagine you could.
Like if it, bring it to a boil. to
Yeah,
start.
bring it to a boil and then just leave it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I've never tried. I've always just done it on the stovetop and not worried about it. With the slow cooker, at least you could just walk away and leave it.
Right.
Yes, dear, I just rubbed the back of my hand with my nose. It's after me. They aren't going to eat this, you are.
That makes it even worse.
My husband.
Just,
He's a retired
I'm a
nurse.
health care professional.
So he gets after me about, you touched your face, you pushed back your hair. It's like, oh, gosh.
That's why I don't,
Too many times.
that's why I don't watch her in the kitchen.
You know, with that,
I haven't killed him yet.
with that chicken flavored gluten there,
Mm-hmm.
that would be great just to, once you get it done, get her boiling good and everything, get it cooked up, then drop dumplings into there.
Yeah,
Or
you could
chicken
do
and
that.
dumplings.
You have chicken and dumplings, this is true.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put the
I'm
lid
sorry,
on here
boy,
so
I
this will
cooked
come
that
back to a
good.
nice boil for me. So you can see when I'm talking about what it does. I'm gonna go wash this stuff off my hands.
Oh, yeah.
Lorraine,
I'll be right back, yes.
have you ever tried cooking gluten in a pressure cooker?
That I have not. I don't do pressure cooker or anything, so no.
Maybe I'll have to get the stuff and make it for potluck this week. She loves it, so. And I know John Miller loves it. His son Grant loves it, so.
A protein dish that was,
Takes work.
basically it was peanut butter and tomato sauce mixed together. And then she would put it in tins. She'd take tins from vegetables or something. She'd put it in the tin, put the tin in the pressure cooker, and would pressure it for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour.
He's
I don't
doing
know.
canning in a pressure cooker.
And then she could slice it.
I did that once with a friend
And
in
it
Alaska
was
doing salmon.
so
That was enough.
kind of like
Pressure
a
cooker's scary.
vegetarian
And I don't know why, other than
luncheon
my mother
sausage,
was
except not
scared
quite
of
that
it, so
thin.
she taught me to use it.
She passed it on, yeah.
Mm.
My mom was canning sauerkraut one time. So she took it off the burner, let it sit, let the pressure go down. Went and took the lid off and bam, had one of the jars explode. And we were all there. Fortunately, nobody got hurt.
Glad that you're
Glass
back.
everywhere, yeah.
Okay.
Hot sour cream.
A couple things before we go to the other part of it. I talked about these little guys. Worthington and Loma Linda made lots of meat substitute things. My Montana mom's next to the, no, maybe they're youngest. No, he wasn't the youngest, was he?
Doesn't matter.
No, I guess not. He used to call it monkey meat because it's man-made, whatever. The scallops I like. I used to like the Worthington vegetarian burger, but like I said, the cans have shrunk and the price hasn't. So whether or not I will use them anymore or not is debatable, because I can make a burger like I did there today if I want something with a burger. And if I could figure out the right seasonings, I could make this into taste like these. And it wouldn't have all the weird stuff that they put in canned stuff.
You know, the first time I saw those smaller cans, I thought, you know, it looks like they've reduced the size, but they've made up for it by increasing the price.
Yeah, the price, yeah. So when I was shopping for something else yesterday morning before I came home and made the cheesecake, I had looked at the recipe and it said graham crackers. And I thought, oh, now let's see, if there's anybody there who doesn't do gluten, graham crackers doesn't work. And so I was just walking down the line and I saw these, and they're called Knick-Knick Samorables. And it says, free from nuts, gluten, soy, peanuts, and dairy. And I thought, well, you can't get it. They use pea starch in here, of all strange things. Anyway, so that was what the crust was made underneath the thing. Because I figured nobody, that should cover just about everybody's food allergies. Because I knew the other was vegan, and so that was the only thing I was worried
Unless they were
about.
allergic to peas.
I thought maybe, Sandy would come, and I know she has nut and gluten allergies, so I was trying to come up with usually when I make my own, I use oatmeal and nuts to make the crust, and I thought, well, that doesn't work if I have somebody with a
Her
nut.
husband was coming in tonight.
Oh, okay. So that's why I put those things out, because I wanted to let you know, these, if you shop at Natural Grocery, nothing's cheap there either.
If they're free from everything else, are they also free from calories?
No,
Oh, of course.
but they aren't as bad as you would have thought. 2 of them is 150 calories, and it only had 7 grams of sugar, which was not bad. Most cookies have a lot more than 7.
I looked at that when I was browsing around seeing what was coming. And I think it had 2 or 3 different kinds of something from peas.
Mm-hmm. It does. It has pea starch, and then it has pea fiber. It has rice flour, potato starch. Yeah, it was rather interesting. It does have a phosphate. I never really knew that, because I'm going to talk about those. Okay, so tonight was going to be kidney health, renal health, because this kind of gluten is very high protein. So you don't want to eat it in large quantities and every day. Okay? It is a very concentrated form of protein. Most of the protein in a wheat is in the gluten. The rest is starch. So it's not something that I'm going to eat every day. It's not something I'm going to pig out on too terribly, because for the same reason. And proteins are part of the problem with renal disease. People who have renal disease or have problems with the chronic kidney disease, or I'm at stage 1 chronic kidney disease. I'm not sure where my husband's at on his. He's a
I'm not
diabetic.
telling. I'm not telling.
Okay, you don't have to. I could go look on your labs.
Because I'm not telling because I don't remember, but
So kidneys filter. That's their main purpose. So everything that's running through your bloodstream is going to go through your kidneys. So if you're giving it too much of, I discovered, protein or potassium or phosphates, you're going to damage your kidneys, and they don't repair. They're like the liver. When I have fatty liver disease. I have had it since before I was this size. So it's non-alcoholic because I don't drink, but it's still fatty liver disease, and it can turn into cirrhosis if you don't take care of it. And it's not repairable either. So because your kidneys are filtering all your blood, and too much protein, it's funny because people always say, oh, I'm going to do a vegetarian diet, and people will say, oh, but you didn't get enough protein. Well, goodness gracious, there's protein in all kinds of things that are not meat.
don't tell the beef people.
Yeah, I know. They'll be very upset. But when you damage your kidneys, you damage your body's ability to regulate the amount of water and electrolytes and toxins in your blood. And so you end up with too much water, too much sodium, or too much toxins, and not enough urine. So we want to take care of our kidneys and keep them healthy. The most common cause of kidney disease is diabetes and high blood pressure. And I would be willing to bet that most diabetics you come across also have high blood pressure, because they seem to run together. Cardiovascular disease. It's why they call it metabolic syndrome, because it's not just one body system that's being affected. So, the more uncontrolled your blood pressure is, or your diabetes is, the more damage is being done to your kidneys. Which is why, because I'm borderline and he is, when they do our blood workup, they always do all the kidney function stuff. Less common causes of kidney disease are autoimmune diseases like lupus, or some medications, some infections, and some cancers can also damage your kidneys. Or you could just have a family history of kidney disease, and you just inherited kidneys that are real touchy. Some of the symptoms of kidney disease are high blood pressure, leg swelling, foamy urine, fatigue, changes in appetite, and trouble sleeping. So if you're having any of those issues, you might, if your doctors aren't already doing kidney panel when they do your labs, you might want them to do that, just to see. Might not have anything to do with anything, and you may be not sleeping well just because you're got too many things on your plate and you're not sleeping well. But maybe it could be something more serious. Now, I don't know. Everybody stand up and look in my pot. Come closer to me. Now, you remember what I put in there, right? They grow. They are now soft. Oops. And the minute I pull them out of the heat, they start shrinking. But usually what I'll do is I'll come along and I'll say, okay, you guys are getting out of your stuff. You're not going to soak your stuff in, so I'll push them all back down in there and I'll let it boil with them for a while. And eventually I'll turn it down and just let it simmer, and then they'll all drop down and they'll stay at the bottom in the broth where they need to be.
When I said I like them soft, that's how I like them.
Yes, but
That's
when but that's what, they're not going to be soft once I pull them out of the heat. They turn soft again when
But
you cook them.
if you put a little yeast in them, Harold, they'll.
Yeah, I'll give you the old recipe with the yeast in it, Harold. I still have a copy of it somewhere, I'm sure. The best diet for preventing chronic kidney disease is foods such as fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, and lentils. That can also treat diabetes and high blood pressure, and thereby keep your kidneys from being damaged. Plant-based foods are rich in fiber and antioxidants, and that's why they're better for you. And they can actually, we could experiment with my husband, but he's not a good guinea pig, and see if we can lower his blood pressure and his A1C by switching him to a plant-based diet.
No, that's gonna make my blood pressure go up.
Might not.
Yeah, I might.
It also lowers inflammation, because meat has a high, I forget what it is, it's in meats. But it's part of what adds to people's inflammation in their joints.
I make my hand feel better then.
Yeah, there you go, see. Plant-based diet, dear, we gotta put you on a plant-based diet.
Yeah, okay.
Now, they put a little thing in here about potassium.
I always
in
thought
kidney disease.
that
And I want
cows
you to listen to this one because your potassium was high a while back.
cows are on a plant-based diet.
Yes, they are. And look how healthy they are.
So if you eat the cow, you're actually on a plant-based diet, right?
No, you're not. I had some smart aleck put that the last time we did burgers. Okay,
I wouldn't know
so
that.
high potassium levels, and I'm quoting, can be fatal in patients with kidney disease and are a concern for patients eating plant-based foods that are often rich in potassium.
Yeah, like my wife was feeding me.
But it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing fruit juices and things that are concentrated, dried fruits, fruit juices, those kind